Hello, everybody. I'm Michael Monaco.
And I'm Bobby Salvesen. We are the Haz Mat Guys, bringing you knowledge and insight to make your job a little bit easier and safer.
Let's get to the show.
Welcome to another episode of the Haz Mat Guys. I'm Bobby Salvesen. I'm here with Mike Monaco. How are you, Mike?
Good.
Delightful. That's good to hear. We are taking a few minutes to catch up with our friends, our old good friends. You've heard him before, John Baldridge, and now we bring in Matt Morrell. Morrell? How do you put the emphasis?
Well, it's like the moral of the story, but don't put too much emphasis on the meaning. Just the pronunciation is fine enough.
I love it. These. If you guys remember, if you've seen these, we did a show with them, John, last year. The guys from CavCom talking about communications, and they have some new stuff they want to throw out there. Matt, why don't you take the honors and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'll oblige. I've been with CavCom for the past roughly 15 years. Pretty much the entire tenure of my career in professional sales has been with CavCom. So I can remember the early days when we were testing product that is now, known and used pretty much all over the world. So I've been around since the very beginning, since the inception of the company, if you will. And I live up here in the Northwest. Fortunate enough to work with some local departments in my metropolitan area here, and I stay very active with our customers in the field, new product sales specifically, and working with folks like John and technical specialty guys to make sure our products just stay at the forefront of where they need to be.
Nice. And John?
Yeah, it's great to be back with you guys again. Appreciate the opportunity to speak. John Baldridge, Senior Technical Specialist, CavCom, coming up on just a little over 9.5 years with the company. And like Matt, I was not there from the beginning, but I've always known about CavCom. I've known the family, known what they wanted to provide for emergency responders. And so we just continue to keep building on that. And so I run field services, and my team, we're the guys that come on for the on-site demos, and we get to come out there and evaluate and work with the regional teams and the local municipality teams, and see what we can cook up in the kitchen, so to speak, as far as a recipe for solutions for in-suit comms, downrange, command theft, all of it. So that's what I do.
That's awesome. Because, last year we did a tremendous podcast. It actually went over very well, and quite a few listens. And CavCom is a mainstay, a staple, I would say, Mike, in emergency response.
We're pretty familiar with it. We're pretty familiar with it from the hazmat point of view. The in-suit communications, things along those lines. I imagine that there's plenty of other industries out there besides just our little industry that's using these types of radios. So over the course of the past year, how have you guys seen a change within your industry from both a hazmat point of view, first responders, second responders, in hospital? What kinds of things has the industry been pushing forward with?
Well, I'll speak to that as far as, sort of our global sales, if you will, throughout the organization. And I touch a little bit on all of those areas. And, this year, I'll put a bit of a, timestamp, if you will, people listening back on this in the future. We're in the midst of COVID-19. The year started out really quite normal, actually on an accelerated pace even. We were talking to some new industries doing some really cool stuff, and then all of a sudden the shutdown happened. And with our company, we're quite resilient because we have so many applications, especially when it comes to respirator use in really high noise environments, difficult, hazardous environments, if you will. And so when organizations like hospitals and food production plants that needed to do training and, all these different things had to happen immediately to keep companies operating, they turned to us and they said, how do you communicate with a respirator? So
loudly.
Yeah. That's like, well, no, you don't pull it off and shout. There are solutions to this. So we've bounced in different directions in the past few months, and we're glad to have the business and the expertise, certainly, because companies and organizations were just left, they just didn't know what to do. So this has been a very unique year for us.
How have you guys been working the issue of, all these new people that have never been, in communication and respirators? How do you provide that service from start to finish?
Well, I'm going to actually, hand it to John, because he and his staff are instrumental in providing live web training. I don't even know what to even call it anymore, because there's webinars and videos and all these things that you can access online. And we are such an in-person company. We really like to be there in person to meet with you and work with your team. And that was hard for us because we were shut out of traveling. And a lot of teams were always surprised that we'd come all the way to meet with them and train them, just to implement 4 or 6 or 8, 10 systems. Well, now that we had to be, relegated to our desks for the past few months, John and his staff got studios fired up and started doing live GoToMeeting, live WebEx, live Zoom, whatever it took to get still personal communication with these end users and train them how. And like you said, I mean, most of these people had never even pushed the button on a radio.
Right.
So, I mean, he had to train them from the grassroots up how to use radio communications. And so it's been extremely effective, especially for the hospital personnel that had to get this done yesterday.
How does that, so you have I'm sure you guys have jumped in on the police side, the first responders, the healthcare system, the EMS community. How are those, does each community have like a little different problem that needs to be solved with in-suit communications, or are you able to just apply most of your standard technology to those fields?
It's primarily the latter. I mean, we can use our standard talk through ears technology in just about every respirator application out there. It will certainly work. What we've discovered is through the use of a lot of PAPR devices, some of the lighter weight respirators we found can be used with a lightweight boom mic. We can actually fit a lightweight headset apparatus inside of some PAPRs, which opens up the accessory options for the end user, so they don't have to go with the talk to ear system if they don't want to. But that's our default answer, and they call saying, hey, I have a respirator, I got to communicate, how do I do it? And it's usually with high noise, coupled with high noise. Not anymore. Now respirators are just prevalent everywhere we go. So we'll default to our talk to ear system and then kind of evaluate what the actual apparatus is that they're using, and then maybe open it up to something like our Phantom headset, or even our Celliers product has been quite effective for quite a few hospital personnel.
If I can just add into that, the one thing that it's not normal anymore. We keep hearing that phrase, right? What's the new norm? Well, when it comes to communications, from the world of this is the way it always was. You got your radio, you got your strap, you got your speaker mic. We added in a full face SBA, went to a suit. Okay, we had that. Now it's different because it's such a combination of what is being sold into, say, the EMS community, municipalities. They find stuff that's on the net, they dump it. Okay, go try this, and it works. And half the stuff doesn't. And then they call us and like, well, I've got a team that's in a PAPR, I got a team that's in a half mask, I got a team that's just in the standard N95s, and I've got some people who are walking around in level B suits. I've got a combination. Can you help us? Sure. And so we would take a look at what they have, how it's being implemented, and then we just kind of work with that, kind of reorganize them, so to speak. And like Matt just said, we bring in a slew of solutions that all work together. But the one that's the craziest is I've had EMS guys calling going, look, I've got to be able to talk to the patients, and they're reading my lips. Well, they can't. So Matt came up with an idea and said, well, let's take an open radio. We'll put that at your waist level facing the patient so he can hear you saying from behind the mask. Because that's part of what we do. It's our senses. We visually key on somebody's mouth moving when they're communicating. Well, when you have so many different people in a room, so many things going on with the COVID, and you've got people, wearing, Tyvek suits or Kevlar suits or half mask and full face and rest. Everybody tends to just start spazzing out. There is no normal. It's chaos. So we were able to come in and reduce that, right? And give an organization to that and allow those people to focus on what their need was, because there is no one size fits all when it comes to the communications. I think you guys can attest to that.
If you had a situation, say like an ER or hospital setting where you have multiple teams working at the same time, is there a way to isolate those teams? And if you have people talking to patients, what do you just designate a person on that team to actually speak to the patient? Like they're like the patient liaison?
And that's kind of part of listening to them explain their difficulties, right? And Matt's going to be able to bring up a couple of good examples from some hospitals in the Southeast, over in Georgia specifically. And that's what you had so many people firing questions off that, because normally everybody could have a, open dialogue. Well, that's over. So that's where these teams would say, okay, you're accessing, you're diagnosing, you're communicating, you're taking the notes.
And you guys have really taken the lead step in making sure that the communications that you guys are putting forward, the logistics involved in helping setting them up and training them, like you guys are just so much more than just the radio system, but you're the knowledge and understanding behind how to use that radio system that gives even more value to your stuff.
Yeah, and if we got time, let Matt elaborate on that hospital in Georgia with that team.
Yeah, there's a couple examples. The hospital in Georgia was interesting because they came across some really inexpensive radios. I mean, cheap, but they worked. And, they had like 30 of these things, and they were desperate. This is in the early onset of COVID. And they looked everywhere, tried these accessories, like John said, get on Amazon, find 9 products that don't work. And, they got a hold of us and understood there was a different price point, but kept talking to us because we were responsive, and we were able to send them trial products, and they were able to test our system with their radios. So that gave them the confidence that it would work, first of all. And then second of all, we actually have inventory in stock since we manufacture our own product. We don't take shipments from China. We don't take like a shipping container and hope it lasts for 2 years. We make product and keep it in inventory. So that was another thing, is we were able to supply them immediately. And I mean like overnight shipping. Yeah. So they had orders in, and the same day we were processing orders in quantities of 30 systems, going across 6 states for the next day delivery. So that was really cool for us to experience. My favorite example is actually prior to COVID hitting, we were dealing with, a certain state's infectious disease transportation network. And they are basically a conglomerate of all these different assets throughout this particular state. And if Ebola or anything shows up bad, right? They round up the troops and say, hey, you're nearest this hospital, this certain team within this transportation network is going to gather this patient up and transport it to this hospital, this airport, or whatever. And they said, look, we need to be able to communicate with each other. And what we have is we have troopers, state troopers, we have an ambulance, a redundant ambulance, and basically a chase car in all these teams. And it was a really cool scenario played out. I'm thinking, A, why doesn't every state have this? And B, why don't these guys have their comms figured out? And the problem is that they couldn't communicate with each other because in these vehicles, they were in hazmat suits dealing with like really tricky patients. So they had to communicate between the driver, the techs in the back, and then the chase vehicles, including the troopers. So we were able to supply them with this very simple but, very effective network of communications, and we sent it to every single team throughout the state, and it's now like the standard for them. I mean, any one of them can go to their kit and communicate effectively no matter what they're dealing with. And it was just, and honestly, it was taking the state a while to procure it because it was a certain purchase amount. But then COVID hit, and it was like they snapped their fingers and it was done. So it was really cool to see like how fast it all came to fruition. once the reality set in of like how effective this could be for immediate purposes, not just the what ifs.
Well, like we've mentioned the boogeyman a couple of times lightly, and I think it's something that I personally have a lot of questions about. Like, if I'm specifically COVID, right? We're in the age of COVID. I think it's still that day. I don't know with the public outcry right now. I think it's been pushed on the side, but I think it's still here. And my curiosity is, okay, if your radios or your device actually, let's say, piggyback or goes on another existing radio system or replaces it, how do you address the cross-contamination issue, not on the outside, but the actual user? Like, this is a whole nother thing we never thought about, is if the operator is infected, how do you not pass it on with the radio itself? I mean, the suit, we can decontaminate, but electronics are another game, right?
Well, but you can decon electronics too. I mean, you're not going to saturate it. You could take any of the stuff that we have and it'll go through a decon scrub down, right? But like you're saying, Bobby, if the guy inside the suit is actually carrying it and he comes out of the suit, everything on him is going to have to get scrubbed. I mean, it's going to be department protocol whether or not that gets tossed and burned, right? Okay, because we're in a disposable society now. Everything's like, that's all, just chuck it. But I mean, everything that we produce can be sanitized.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, even like this is a stretch, but even our custom line of products, our ear sets, our custom ear sets, which, is not really geared up for all, municipality, hazmat teams, but those can be wiped down with your 70% alcohol solution. You're good. You wipe down the wires, you wipe down the connections, you let it dry. You're good. You've sanitized. You're not going to do that to anything foam disposable, because you can't clean foam. That gets tossed. That's the one that's expendable.
So the little the little microphone windscreen kind of things, that's throw out.
Yeah, you chunk those. I mean, those are 10 cents. We sell them in packs of 50. So, you want me to give them to you? Oh, well, don't put that on the air, but I'm
yeah.
Hook you up.
Yeah, I just, there was so many questions about like COVID, like how does this, and I mean, you guys are dealing with this thing, right? I mean, you guys are, is this a question that you're hearing a lot of people
Every
that are
day.
looking at, right? Everybody's talking about it.
Every day.
We had to redo our protocols like immediately. We had to basically come up with, not we collectively, it was one of the folks in our staff who was tasked with it. And I mean, it was swift, but it was almost like that was as important, if not more important, that communication to the customers than the actual delivery of the product. Yes. They were so concerned about how to disseminate the information. As you say, how do you decon a radio? In your world, most radios are IP67 or higher, so they're waterproof, dustproof, whatever. You can spray them with an aerosol, decontaminant, whatever. But, in the general world, no, most radios aren't that, they're not IP67 rated. They might be an IP54 rated, so you wouldn't want to dunk them in a solution necessarily. But, the communication to the end user on how to clean something, I hadn't even thought of it before, to be honest.
I mean, yeah, and that was something that was immediate. It was, like I said in the beginning, we're field services, and we create, we have studios in our houses, and that is one of the highest live video trainings that I have given since the 6th of March was how do I clean my equipment? And I will get in front of a team or a team leader and say, this is, and we go by the numbers.
Right. And it's not like they didn't know how to do it. They just wanted somebody to hold their hands.
Exactly, yeah.
Well, it's scary.
You guys pivoted.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's scary to them.
It's scary to them when you have something that is totally new, right? I mean, yes, it's biological. So it's not like, we've never seen a virus before, but there's so many different questions and people are so nervous that to have somebody that steps in and can, all right, we didn't just give you the product, but we're going to now walk you through all the aspects of this product. Even in this changing world, we have the answers. That's a level of comfort that people flock to.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's the service side. That's one that and that's something that's always consistent, and it just continues to grow as we check up on them. I mean, there's a follow up to it. Once these teams receive their gear, hospitals, EMT techs, doctors, whatever, we're following up, going, okay, did you sign up for the training? We noticed you didn't. This is your date. Can you accommodate this? I'm training on Saturdays and Sundays. Sometimes I'm training at 11:30 at night. My other tech is training at 2 o'clock in the morning because that's what time the shifts roll into the hospitals. But they're taking it because they want to know, because this is brand new to them. They never had radio communications before inside the hospital. It's another tool in their toolbox. They've got to know how to employ it correctly. And just like y'all both said, it's scary. They got to know how to clean it.
So what is, besides the everything that's happening with the COVID, just in the technology as a whole, what's new? What's on the cutting edge? What are we going to expect to see in the near future?
Well, that's my favorite thing to talk about, and I've had my hand slapped many times over the past several years because I start talking out of turn about products that haven't quite been released yet. But the one that I'm most excited about is what we call our hi-fi custom ear set. And hi-fi for me is a bit of an antiquated term, but when you really dig into what high fidelity is, what we've done is we've incorporated a pass-through filter on our custom ear sets. And what this allows you to do is hear ambient background sounds even though you have the earpiece in, and that earpiece could either be a passive hearing protector or it could be our radio gear product line. So basically hooked into your existing radio mic. And the reason I personally took this project on was because I was working with so many, fire service, hazmat, EMS throughout the country, throughout North America really. And they were all using these sort of cobbled together, usually some variety of silicone and electrical tape, and they had these earpieces going to their mics, and I just kept thinking, and they would buy our product, but they're like, yeah, it's really comfortable, it sounds great, but I can't hear anything. And I was on a fishing trip with a buddy a couple years ago he's a tailboard operator. Guy's been a firefighter, in a major municipality for the past 22 years. And I made him a set. I'm like, tell me what you think. And he wore it to 2 fires. He's like, I can't hear anybody inside the house. He's like, it's just too much protection. And so I sort of just said, look, we've got to find a way to let them use this product, but hear around them. And so for the past 2 years, we've been experimenting with filters. And we finally settled on a couple filters. We actually got hearing attenuation, so NRR attenuation ratings assigned to it. And we made the product widely available now. So nobody can slap my hand. I'm not speaking out of turn. Anybody in the company listening, I didn't do this ahead of time. So yeah, we've been putting them into a major fire department on the West Coast with great reviews, officers down to entry-level firefighters. Hazmat team members use them. Obviously, hazmat guys don't do hazmat all day, every day. They have many other duties that they have to abide to. So it's been really rewarding for me to see the product come full circle and be introduced and available. And I was really looking forward to IAFC Hazmat this year to showcase the product and actually show it to all of our great customers who've trusted us over the years. And unfortunately, we're going to have to wait another year to see those people in person. But maybe if we can give a little shout out during this, that would be great, because I think it's a product that every department should be looking at for their folks that are using earpieces.
I never actually thought about that. Like because for us in hazmat, if we're in a level A, we're so isolated to begin with that that never really became an issue. But I could see how in other levels of protection and firefighters, like, you limit their hearing, and it's like, oh, you just took away 1/5 of everything that I'm doing.
That's right, and that's. In the past we had, and I think me and Bobby talked about this last year a little bit. Even on our universal sets for the teams that are going in suit, you can have too much protection, because as soon as you run that zipper and you close that Velcro strap, you just reduced your ambient noise by even more, right? Because now you're in your own little confined space. So even on the universal side of it, we have now created some different passive tips. I say passive. It's not even a protector. It looks like it's a vented or a slotted foam tip that allows ambient to come through while it suspends the earpiece in your ear, and you can still hear your surroundings. Because it's kind of cool when you're hearing your stereo binaural with both ears. I mean, it's like crystal clear. but you don't want it to be too quiet, right? Just like, I mean, Mike just said that. You get inside there, you're like, okay, can't really hear anything but my blood pumping. That's a problem. Now, if you're dressing for a low level or what we call low noise in our communications world, there's no way that I'm gonna include both your ears so you can't hear. You got to have one so you can talk on the mic, but the other one needs to be for your surrounding. But if your teams and those that are listening, if you're responding to ammonia refrigeration leaks inside of a cold food storage facility because the maintenance team there doesn't have hazmat trained technicians, they're not shutting down the equipment for you to go find the leak. It's going to be loud, and you're in decibels of 105 and climbing. You can't hold a radio conversation. You sure can't hear anything. So that's when we're able to adjust the tips to create that great environment for you as a responder to get in there, get your business done without losing your hearing. So we've created some pretty cool stuff this year. Really excited.
Now, John, tell us a little bit about when you're, training with teams and stuff like that, and the inevitable question comes up to, in suit, out of suit, mouth covered. How do you deal with that?
It's the one comment that I get on the phone, emails, text during live video trainings, on-site demos. It's the debrief. You're always having a debrief when your situation is over and you're back and you're putting your gear up and you're going through. It's still communications is a problem.
Right.
We're still in the era of reaching up, unsleeving, getting inside, grabbing our hand mic, and trying to bring that up to the vent flap inside your mask to talk. It doesn't work, right? So everybody's still frustrated. There still is no one perfect device for everybody. But with talk through your ears, it takes a lot of that frustration and that hardship out of the way, because we're dealing with speech that's covered. Your mouth is covered. You just sound muffled. So, when we're debriefing, after all the demos and the trials, that's what it comes back down to is still, I can't understand what they're saying clearly.
Yes.
Because they're still trying to talk to a vent flap. So still always talk to ears comes in, is always way ahead of the game. We're still catching the speech deep within downside the ear canal. Remember, it's not a bone conduction unit, it's an air conduction mic. So when you talk, air is released and we're picking up your speech. So it's still highly sought after. But debrief communications are still the same. People are still griping about in-suit communications.
What are I'm aware of 3 major solutions for, the different types of communications that's out there. You have your direct in ear, which you guys call
talk to your ear, right?
Talk to your ears.
Talk to your ears.
Yeah, talk to your ears, yes.
Then you have the phantom headset and the cell ears. What are those 3? Kind of what are the differences and how do they apply?
Okay, so talk to ears we just explained. I'll nutshell it again. Microphone is inside the earpieces that is situated and suspended sitting inside of the user's ear canal. When we talk with a full face mask on, our speech is not coming through our mouth. It is coming through the air being passed through deep within our ear canal. It's actual movement of air, okay? It's not bone vibration. So that's talk through your ears. That one you have to have a seal. You have to have a protection on the microphone side to seal out any ambient noise and also acoustic feedback, right? So okay. The seal is the deal, and that takes care of in-suit. When you go into the Phantom headset, Phantom is a lightweight, probably 8-9 ounce lightweight headset that was designed really around Pappers. It has a flexible boom mic, but it's also paired with our Radio Gear ear sets, which are volume limited. Okay, so when that user plugs into their existing radio system and they crank that volume up all the way because they're in a high noise or you got too many people talking, we limit the volume. You're not going to get any hearing loss from our products. Okay, and they can also be coupled with passive protection. The vented slotted tips that we talked about before, I can allow ambient noise to come through. You can hear your surrounding. If it's really loud, you put an occlusion tip on there. All of a sudden, it's really nice and quiet. Your comms are good. That's the Phantom, another solution. Not real great it's great for Papper, but it's not real good when you're zipped up inside, okay? It doesn't have the big, nice, beefy body button we got that you can punch through the suit. This one's a little bit different configuration. And then you got cell ears. Cell ears is exactly what it sounds like. It was set up for industrial, cell phone, communications, high noise cell phone capability. So the best example for, we talk about fire and hazmat guys. If I got the chief walking up and he's on his phone and you guys are cranking, you got radios blasting over here, he can't hear anything. You plug his cell ears into his Android based device, or if he's got the connection for an Apple, I have to verify that one with Matt. But what we do is we basically take out all the background noise. He pops in an earpiece. He hears you in either one ear or both ears, depending on which one he wants to put in. And the microphone is dropping the ambient noise, I'd say probably a good 25 to 30%. So now he could be in a high noise environment on the cell phone, and everybody going, "What'd you say?" He doesn't have to leave the scene. That's what cell ears does.
Wow.
So those are, those are the three that we started talking about today.
I got to say, you piqued my interest in the cell ears.
Yeah.
I got to say, I'm like, boy, I could use those.
I'm like, can I demo one of those?
Wow. Well, it's, that's the point. Is like, I'm sure if me and Mike are sitting here thinking like, so, holy crap, we can use these things. How do we get a demo? How do you get a trial? And are you guys doing? Nobody's doing live demos right now. Everybody's doing virtual, right?
Matt, you can go on this one.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a few requests for live demos, and I almost kind of wonder where they're coming from. And I very patiently explained we are not traveling at the moment, but our guys are eager and itching to get back out there. But as we discussed earlier, our trial program is prolific. We've used it for years. We just simply became unable to attend every demo that was requested of us over the years. And so naturally, it just became more expedient and time effective to get some product out the door. We do put you through some hoops. You gotta complete a trial agreement form and sign away your willingness to return it to us. And so we send it out standard UPS ground, and then we will do a live video training with your team and one of our technical specialists. And if you cannot, for whatever reason, or don't want to schedule live training, we do have pre-recorded trainings that we could send to you, some links that you can, and those are really convenient for the off shifts, as John said. I mean, I don't like to put our guys on camera at 2 a.m. if I don't have to. So, we can send videos for that, but this is a standard procedure for us. The trial program for us is business as usual. It's just become extremely important in the past 4 months. So there's plenty of demand for it, plenty of product to be supported. We keep contributing more and more inventory to the trial program every month. We don't just say, "Oh, sorry, we've got to wait for some to come back." Right. If you want it, you're going to get it, and we're going to support it.
That is awesome. All right, so where do they go to actually schedule one of these things? Okay,
so probably the most convenient thing for everybody, without talking to a human being, would be to go to our website, which is CavCominc.com. That's CAV as in Victor, COMINC.com. And my email is mattm@CavCominc.com. And you can just send me an email directly if you want. But if you go to our website, you can complete the one of the forms there to contact us, request a demo, request a call back. If you're one of those good old-fashioned people like myself who really doesn't mind being on the phone, you can call us directly. Our toll-free number, it still exists, is 866-547-4988. So, awesome. Call us, email us. You can get on, I think we're on Instagram, Facebook, definitely LinkedIn, all over that. So if, one of the social media ways to reach us, you'll find us on there.
Awesome. John, you want to add anything to that?
Cool.
He didn't say Twitter. I just learned how to tweet recently.
Twitter. I did too. I'm sorry.
We're on Twitter, and what's funny is because there's a lot of hazmat departments that are on Twitter, and they're actually tweeting out CavCom. And I was like, calling my people at the office going, "Have you seen this free advertising they're doing for us? This is awesome. They really like us."
I love it. That's great. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you guys so much for coming on and giving us a little bit of information about these, this technology in this changing time.
Yep.
It's our pleasure.
The opportunity. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you very much.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Haz Mat Guys.
You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and our YouTube channel at the Haz Mat Guys, and take a moment to call our comment hotline at 843-628-1484.
And we are always looking forward to your feedback about information or interesting incidents that you were a part of, so send us a note at feedback@thehazmatguys.com.
Remember, guys, don't just get on the job, get into the job.